If your fellow crypto hodler were to tell you, hey, Bitcoin to $1 million, you would dismiss it as a joke, right? But if the famous author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and finance icon Robert Kiyosaki were to flip that idea, I am certain every one of us would sit tight and take notice. Hey there, welcome to another video. We will be exploring Robert Kiyosaki's jaw-dropping prediction that Bitcoin could skyrocket to a staggering $1 million. He says it will only happen under this specific situation, though. So let's dive in and find out. Who is Robert Kiyosaki? Alright, let's kick things off by talking about the man of the hour. Robert Kiyosaki is a financial educator, entrepreneur, and the best-selling author of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book has been a game-changer for millions of people worldwide, teaching them the ins and outs of financial literacy, something that's not usually taught in schools. Born in Hawaii, Kiyosaki served in the Marine Corps before diving into the world of business. He's dabbled in everything from real estate to oil, and he's even tried his hand at starting a wallet business, like actual wallets. Not crypto wallets, but what really catapulted him to fame was his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. In it, he contrasts the financial philosophies of his biological father, the poor dad, who was all about traditional education and a 9-to-5 job, with his best friend's dad, the rich dad, who taught him the ropes of investing and creating wealth. Kiyosaki's influence in the financial world is monumental. He's been on every talk show he can think of, and his financial education company, Rich Global LLC, has made him a household name. His book has been translated into dozens of languages and has sold millions of copies worldwide. So when a guy like this makes a bold prediction about Bitcoin, you better believe people are going to listen. So now that you know who Robert Kiyosaki is, let's dive into what he's saying about Bitcoin's potential to hit that mind-blowing $1 million mark. Kiyosaki's love for Bitcoin. So what's the deal with Robert Kiyosaki and Bitcoin? Well, let me tell you, this guy is head over heels for the cryptocurrency. He's been very vocal about his love for Bitcoin, often taking to social media and interviews to sing its praises. But why? What's got him so enamored with this digital gold? First off, Kiyosaki is a big believer in assets that aren't controlled by the government or traditional financial systems. He's all about that financial freedom, and Bitcoin, being decentralized, ticks all those boxes for him. He often compares Bitcoin to gold and silver, calling them God's money, as they are natural elements, while referring to Bitcoin as the people's money because it's created by a community and not a central authority. Now, let's talk numbers. Kiyosaki isn't new to making bold predictions. He previously predicted that Bitcoin would hit $100,000. And guess what? He wasn't far off the mark, considering Bitcoin's recent all-time highs. This lends some credibility to his latest jaw-dropping prediction of Bitcoin soaring to $1 million. His rationale for supporting Bitcoin over traditional assets like stocks and bonds is pretty straightforward. He sees Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation and a crumbling economy. In his view, traditional assets are too vulnerable to market manipulation and economic downturns. Bitcoin, on the other hand, operates on a different playing field, one that's not so easily manipulated. So to sum it up, Kiyosaki's love for Bitcoin stems from its decentralized nature, its potential as a hedge against economic instability, and let's not forget, its potential for sky-high returns. When a financial guru like Kiyosaki speaks so highly of Bitcoin, it's hard not to sit up and take notice. Right, the $1 million prediction, context, and conditions. Alright, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. Kiyosaki's eye-popping prediction that Bitcoin could hit a whopping $1 million. Now, before you start planning your early retirement, let's dive into the nitty-gritty details of this bold claim. What exactly needs to happen for Bitcoin to reach this astronomical figure? First and foremost, Kiyosaki isn't saying this will happen overnight, or even that it's a guarantee. He's laid out some specific conditions, and they're not exactly what you'd call upbeat. In fact, they're downright gloomy. Kiyosaki believes that for Bitcoin to hit the $1 million mark, the economy would have to go through a significant crash. We're talking about a financial apocalypse here, folks. Think 2008, but on steroids. Why? Well, in times of economic instability, traditional assets like stocks, bonds, and even real estate can take a nosedive. That's when alternative assets like gold, silver, and you guessed it, Bitcoin, become more appealing. They serve as a sort of financial lifeboat, a hedge against a sinking economy. Kiyosaki argues that Bitcoin, with its decentralized nature and limited supply, could be the ultimate hedge against hyperinflation and economic collapse. Now let's talk about inflation for a second. We've all felt it, right? The rising costs of, well, just about everything. Inflation erodes the value of money. Your dollar today is worth less than it was yesterday. In a high inflation scenario, which could be triggered by a myriad of factors like excessive money printing or a collapse in confidence in a country's economy, Bitcoin could serve as a store of value. It's like a digital version of stuffing your money under the mattress, but way more effective. Kiyosaki also points out that Bitcoin operates outside the traditional financial system. It's not tied to any government or institution, which makes it less susceptible to the whims of policymakers or market manipulations. So in a world where the economy is going belly up, Bitcoin could potentially be the stable asset people turn to, driving its price up to the stratosphere. So to wrap this section up, Kiyosaki's $1 million Bitcoin prediction is tied to some pretty dire economic conditions. It's not a scenario we hope for, but it's one that could make Bitcoin a financial savior of sorts. It's a dark cloud, but one that comes with a silver, or should I say Bitcoin, lining. Economic indicators. So inferred Kiyosaki's prediction. But what do the current economic indicators say? Are we really on the brink of a financial meltdown that could catapult Bitcoin to $1 million? Let's take a look. Just remember, this is not financial advice. Do your own research. This video is for entertainment purposes only. First up, let's talk about debt. Global debt is at an all-time high, and it's not showing any signs of slowing down. Governments are printing money like there's no tomorrow to fund various initiatives and, well, to keep the economy afloat. But this kind of money printing can lead to inflation, and as we discussed earlier, inflation could be a catalyst for Bitcoin's rise. Next, we have the stock market. Now, I'm no fortune teller, but there's a lot of speculation that we're seeing a few different bubbles. A credit bubble, for one, and a housing bubble. If either were to pop, it could spell doom for the economy as a whole. And let's not forget about government policies. Low interest rates, stimulus packages, and other forms of economic intervention we experienced during the pandemic provided short-term relief but long-term pain. So, are these indicators a guarantee of an impending crash? No, but they do align pretty closely with Kiyosaki's views. He's long warned about the consequences of debt, inflated stock markets, and government intervention. If he's right, and these indicators are the writing on the wall, then maybe that $1 million Bitcoin isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. What does this mean for investors? So we've delved into Kiyosaki's $1 million Bitcoin prediction, and even looked at some economic indicators that might make this wild forecast a reality. But what does all this mean for you, the investor? Let's break it down. First off, if you're already invested in Bitcoin or considering it, Kiyosaki's prediction could be music to your ears. $1 million Bitcoin would mean astronomical returns on investment, but, and it's a big but, this isn't a guarantee. Investing in Bitcoin, like any other asset, comes with its share of risks. Market volatility is a big one. One day you're up, the next day you're down. It's not for the faint-hearted. So, how can you capitalize on this potential outcome? One strategy is diversification. Don't put all your eggs in the Bitcoin basket. Consider spreading your investments across different asset classes to mitigate risk. And if you're new to crypto, maybe start small. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy fractions of one. This way, you can dip your toes in the water without diving headfirst. Another strategy is to keep an eye on economic indicators and government policies. If you see signs pointing to economic instability, it might be a good time to increase your Bitcoin holdings. But remember, timing the market is tricky, so proceed with caution. And let's not forget about regulatory issues. Governments around the world are still figuring out how to regulate cryptocurrencies. Any sudden changes in regulations could impact Bitcoin's price, either positively or negatively. In summary, while Kiyosaki's prediction is tantalizing, it's essential to approach it with a balanced perspective. Do your own research, understand the risks, and maybe you could be on your way to capitalizing on $1 million Bitcoin. But as always, invest wisely and never invest more than you can afford to lose. Skepticism and counterarguments. Okay, so we've been riding the Kiyosaki hype train for a bit, but let's pump the brakes and consider some counterarguments. Not everyone is as bullish on Bitcoin, and it's important to hear both sides of the story. First up, the skeptics. There are plenty of financial experts who argue that Bitcoin is too volatile to be considered a reliable asset. They point to its wild price swings as evidence that it's more of a speculative gamble than a long-term investment. And let's not forget the environmental concerns. The energy consumption required to mine Bitcoin has been a hot topic, and it's one of the criticisms often leveled against its long-term viability. Then there's the regulatory landscape. Governments worldwide are still grappling with how to regulate cryptocurrencies. Some countries have even banned them outright. Any significant regulatory crackdown could severely impact Bitcoin's price and its adoption rate. And what about competition? Bitcoin may have been the first cryptocurrency, but it's certainly not the only one. With thousands of other cryptocurrencies out there, some argue that another could eventually dethrone Bitcoin. Ethereum, anyone? Lastly, there's the debate about Bitcoin's intrinsic value. Traditional assets like gold or real estate have inherent value. But what about Bitcoin? Its value is largely based on public perception and adoption, which can be fickle. So, while Kiyosaki's $1 million Bitcoin prediction is exciting, it's not without its fair share of criticisms and skeptics. As always, it's crucial to do your own research and consider multiple perspectives before making any investment decisions. Keep your eyes wide open, folks. The bigger picture. Bitcoin in the global economy. All right, let's zoom out for a moment and look at the bigger picture. Where does Bitcoin fit into the grand scheme of the global economy? It's a question that's been on the minds of economists, policymakers, and, well, pretty much anyone with a stake in the financial world. First off, let's talk about Bitcoin as a disruptor. Traditional financial systems have been around for centuries, but here comes Bitcoin, barely a teenager, shaking things up. It's decentralized, it's digital, and it's getting people a way to bypass traditional banking systems. That's huge, especially for unbanked populations in developing countries. And the future? There's a growing belief that cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin could play a significant role in the next evolution of financial systems. Imagine a world where cross-border transactions can happen in seconds, not days, and without exorbitant fees. Or think about smart contracts that execute themselves without the need for intermediaries. The possibilities are both exciting and a bit mind-boggling. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. A Bitcoin boom could also trigger some defensive plays from governments and financial institutions. We're talking about potential regulations, maybe even the introduction of government-backed digital currencies. China's already testing its digital currency, and other countries are likely to follow suit. So if Bitcoin really takes off, expect a ripple effect that could touch every corner of the financial world. Governments and institutions will have to adapt, and how they do so could shape the financial landscape for decades to come. Strap in, it's going to be a wild ride. To wrap things up, a quick summary. From diving into Robert Kiyosaki's bold prediction of Bitcoin hitting $1 million to exploring the economic indicators and what this all could mean for you as an investor. The takeaway? Do your own research and be prepared for a roller coaster of possibilities in the crypto world. Look, no one has a crystal ball, not even Kiyosaki. In fact, let us know in the comments if you think he is right, or if 1 million is way too high of a figure per coin. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. We'll see you soon with some more amazing crypto content.